All local, all morning. This is Fox 61, Connecticut's news station.
And now at 6, a plan is being put in place to help parents save when it comes to childcare. Fox 61's Del Monte will have a closer look at the plan coming up in just a few minutes from now.
Good morning. Happy Thursday. Thanks for starting yours off with us. I'm Erica Arias.
And I'm Bridget Bureau. Hope you're having a great morning. It's been a beautiful fall-like week weather-wise. We hope it continues. Let's check in with meteorologist Rachel Piscatelli. Hey, Rachel.
Hey, good morning. I think today, tomorrow, and Saturday, a little taste of summer. Back into the forecast with a little bit more in the way of humidity and a little bit more warmth on the way, too. Temperatures will go all the way up to near 80 degrees, but the humidity also begins to rise over the course of the day today, too. Right now over in Hartford, it looks beautiful. Mostly sunny skies out there this morning. 55 degrees and the wind is calm, or I should say mostly clear. The sun not necessarily up just yet, but it is coming up. Anywhere from 1 to about 5 degrees warmer than this time yesterday. We're sitting in the lower 50s for the most part, upper 50s along the shoreline. Southeastern Connecticut right around 51 degrees, Norwich at 51 as well. You may notice later on today too, the humidity begins to rise, but then also the wind too. So the wind is going to pick up in intensity, gusting closer to 15 to 20 miles per hour. So a little bit of a breeze. Out the door this morning, here's a look at your school forecast for today. Heading to school, temperatures will be in the 50s. No need for an umbrella today. Heading home, temperatures up around 80 degrees in the afternoon. There is a chance overnight tonight for a little bit more in the way of rain. Any evening plans tonight should be just fine. But after about 11 o'clock or so, we're going to increase the opportunity for some scattered rain showers as well as maybe even some brief downpours. It should clear out just in time for daybreak tomorrow. We'll have more details on the rain chances coming up in just a bit. As we check in with the roads this morning here at almost 6:02. We are largely quiet, but we do have one road closure to tell you about. So if you are traveling over in Killingly this morning on Route 12, it is closed between Shepherd Hill Road and Garrick Street. This is due to a car versus a pole. So the crash occurring just around 2:30 this morning. So we'll give you an idea of when this is going to clear as we learn a little bit more about this. But you will need to seek an alternative route if you do typically travel on Route 12. A little bit of fog this morning, too, on our interstates, so give yourself a little extra time as you're traveling as well. Erica.
Rachel, thanks. Well, developing news this morning in New Britain. The mayor's office tells us that a man was hurt in a shooting last night. It happened in the area of Osgood Avenue and Corbin Avenue. The man was found at the scene conscious and alert with a gunshot wound. He was taken to the hospital, and an investigation into what happened is now underway. And one man was injured while riding a motorcycle near UConn's campus. We learned just this morning that he was not a student there at UConn. The single vehicle crash happened last night on Horse Barn Hill Road. That person was taken to the hospital to be treated for their injuries. More information will be released when it's available. We'll get you updated as soon as we can.
6:03 now. If you're a parent, you know that childcare is not cheap, and Connecticut has some of the highest costs in the country. But there's a new plan that's helping parents save. Fox 61's Del Monte is live in Hartford this morning with families, what they need to know. Good morning, Glenn.
Good morning, Bridget. The plan stems around the state's Early Childhood Education Endowment. The fund is expected to expand early childhood education programs for tens of thousands of kids around the state. They're going to be low cost and free for some. We're going to learn more about those expansions in a minute, but let's talk about how the endowment works first. The governor's office says $300 million of the state's surplus will go towards the endowment. As it grows, it will be able to help more families address childcare or access childcare opportunities. It will also help support increased wages for educators, as well as other benefits and even scholarships. It's also expected to fund improvements to child care facilities. Starting in July of 2027, families enrolled in early state CT who make less than $100,000 a year will pay nothing for child care. No
dispute about how important early childhood education is for these kids, infant and toddlers right through pre-K. First of all, I hear that from every teacher I talk to.
Families who make more than $100,000 a year are going to pay a lesser amount, but starting in July of 2027, families enrolled in early state CT who make less than $100,000 a year will pay nothing for childcare. The endowment is expected to fund the largest expansion of childcare and childhood education programs in the state's history. Ultimately, the goal is for young kids to have universal access to preschool, The governor spoke earlier this year about expanding child care opportunities in the state. He talked about how these kids and infants and toddlers, they need childhood education, early childhood education. It's an important opportunity for them that they cannot miss. So this expansion is expected to help families around the state. We're going to hear more from the governor later this morning around 10 o'clock. We're also going to hear from other officials speaking with him about these new expansions, these new opportunities. We're going to bring you continued coverage throughout the morning on that. In Hartford, Joe Monti, Fox 61.
All right, Joe, looking forward to hearing what the governor has to say later. Meantime, at 6:05 new this morning, chaos and violence. That's how the union representing corrections officers here in the state described Labor Day after a series of attacks left 7 officers hurt. Fox 61's Glenn Kittle is outside the McDougal-Walker Correctional Institution where one of the fights broke out. Glenn, good morning. Tell us more about all that happened over the weekend.
Yeah, good morning. This series of violence left those 7 officers badly injured, and it all started at the York Correctional Facility at around 2 p.m. Now, according to the union's report, the officer was trying to break up a brawl between 4 inmates who refused to stop fighting after the officer told them repeatedly to stop. As a result, the inmates had to be physically restrained and separated, and one of the correctional officers was taken to the hospital with multiple fractures to his left leg and ankle after he was trying to break up that fight. The union says this officer now faces a difficult recovery that will include pain, surgeries, and significant rehabilitation. That second attack happened at 4:02 p.m. in the McDougal-Walker Correctional Institution. The report says an inmate allegedly charged an officer there. This officer suffered a head wound while restraining them, and the union notes that a chemical agent had to be used to get the situation under control. 2 officers in that incident were injured, and the union says another officer received a mental health evaluation because of the stress and trauma caused by the situation. A third assault took place at 8:29 in the evening in Cheshire. According to the union report, an inmate was choking another inmate, and that fight was eventually broke up. But during the process, one inmate turned violent on an officer, and as a result, 4 officers in that fight were injured. One of the officers suffered a head injury, causing a concussion, while the others had injuries to the neck, back, and knees. A joint statement was released by the president of Council Force correctional officers and employees, and it highlights how changes to the state policies are endangering correctional officers. It says in part, quote, "For more than a decade, Connecticut's prisons have been stretched to the breaking point. Then the state legislature passed the PROTECT Act, making a bad situation much, much worse. It serves one purpose, to keep staff and inmates safe. The PROTECT Act forces correctional officers to shoulder impossible burdens. Yet the state refuses to hire the staff we need to safely implement these policy changes. Officers are being left alone in dangerous situations, and now lives are on the line." The union also says officers face these challenges without the reassurance of a fair union contract, and they've been facing those pressures since July 1st. We have reached out to the state for comment on the union's report. They have not reached back out to us just yet. We will get back to you when we hear more. Live in Suffield, Glenn Kittle, Fox 61.
All right, Glenn, thanks. 6:08 now, and a New Haven teen that was detained by ICE has returned home. Esdras is an 18-year-old junior at Wilbur-Cross High School. He was taken into ICE custody after a raid in Southington back in July. Fox 61's Alicia Hercules has more on the next steps as he focuses on getting back to his education.
The executive director of Connecticut Students for a Dream says they're trying to give Esdras his privacy during this time, but say he couldn't be happier to be home with his loved ones. Esdras was detained by ICE in late July during a raid at his place of work. After being detained, he was taken to different detention facilities in Massachusetts, New Hampshire, and Louisiana. His attorney, Tina Colon Williams, was eventually able to get in contact with ICE and request a bond hearing for him in Plymouth, Massachusetts. That hearing was held at the end of August when the teen was granted bond. Since Esdras' return to New Haven, he now has the task of getting readjusted to life again back home. Tabitha Sugdeo, the executive director of Connecticut Students for a Dream, says their organization is working closely with the school district to ensure he has a care plan, a social worker, and a well-paced transition back into school.
He's gone through an incredibly traumatic experience, and so we want to make sure that he has all of the help that he needs, going from being mostly solitary for about 40 days and then going back into a school can be pretty overwhelming.
He'll be able to go through his removal proceedings outside of the context of a jail, outside of a prison. It's a long road, but we are committed to standing with him, rallying around him, being beside him throughout this process until the end.
As for his legal proceedings, Estras's attorney says he will continue to attend hearings now that he's home. Sugdeo says they plan to do a welcome home party of some sort for Estras soon, but for now says he's just grateful to be home. Sugdeo says their organization is looking to train lawyers on immigration law to support the growing number of cases across the state like Estras's. For more information on that training and how to get involved, just visit this story on our website, FOX61.com. In New Haven, Alicia Hercules, FOX 61.
Concerns continue to rise in New Britain after several students were dropped off miles away from their homes. Rose Fajardo Hopkins says her child has gotten dropped off late every day and that she gets worried when it happens. New Britain Superintendent Tony Gasper says there are staff assigned to update families when buses are late. The bus company First Students says it has taken steps to resolve the issue by bringing in drivers from out of state and using additional vehicles from other locations. It also appointed an experienced location manager and hired more drivers. Hopkins says she'll continue calling if there are more issues.
I'm a type of parent that once the bus is late, I'm calling the bus company. Like, what's my ETA? What's my ETA? Like, they already know me there. I don't care. Like, I will call, and they know who I am. They know who my son's name. They know, I'm not a rude person. I call them like respectfully, where's the bus? Like, I have to go to work too.
The Board of Education chair in New Britain says they plan to hold the school bus company responsible.
All right, well, if you're like me and you forgot to buy a Powerball ticket last night, no worries. We have another chance at the massive jackpot Saturday night.
Yeah, nobody won the grand prize, so the jackpot rises to $1.7 billion, making it the third largest lottery jackpot ever recorded in the United States. So if you did buy a ticket last night, check the tickets because you may have won a smaller prize. Those winning numbers are on your screen: 3, 16, 29, 61, 69, and the Powerball 22. 29 tickets in Connecticut won $200. According to the lottery website, there weren't any winning tickets above that amount, but I'll take $200.
Yeah, sure. All right, so we have to remember to get our lottery tickets by
know.
Saturday because we're going to win, right?